The celestial advertising, a strange thing indeed, and one capable of bringing a smile to the lips of a financier. We are talking about the heavens. But let us be clear, we are considering the sky from a serious, industrial point of view. Certain historical events, now scientifically proven and explained, or nearly so, such as the labarum of Constantine, the crosses reflected upon the clouds by snowy plains, the refraction phenomena of the Brocken Mountains, and various mirage effects in northern lands, have deeply intrigued and, so to speak, challenged a learned southern engineer, Monsieur Grave. A few years ago, he conceived a brilliant project to utilize the vast expanses of the night and, in a word, to raise the sky to the level of our modern age. In truth, what is the use of those azure vaults that serve no purpose other than to feed the sickly imaginations of the last few dreamers? Would a man not earn a legitimate right to public gratitude and, let's say it, why not, to the admiration of posterity, if he were to convert those sterile spaces into spectacles that are truly and fruitfully instructive? If he were to develop those immense wastelands and finally make those vast, transparent lands yield a profit? This is no place for sentiment. Business is business. It is appropriate to call upon the cooperation and, if necessary, the energy of serious people regarding the value and the monetary results of the unexpected discovery we are discussing. At first glance, the very core of the matter seems to border on the impossible and almost on insanity. To cultivate the azure, to quote the stars, to exploit both twilights, to organize the evening, and to put the sky to use, a sky that until this day has remained unproductive. What a dream! What a thorny undertaking, bristling with difficulties. But, armed with the spirit of progress, is there any problem for which man could not find solution? Full of this idea, and convinced that if Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, the printer, had snatched the lightning from the sky, it must be possible all the more so to employ that same sky for humanitarian needs. Monsieur Grave studied, traveled, compared, spent, and forged. And in time, having perfected the enormous lenses and the gigantic reflectors of the American engineers, specifically the apparatuses of Philadelphia and Quebec, which have fallen into the realm of mere bluff and hucksterism for lack of a tenacious genius, Monsieur Grave, we say, intends, having secured the necessary patents, to immediately offer our large manufacturing industries and even small merchants the assistance of absolute publicity. Any competition would be impossible against the system of this great popularizer. Imagine, for instance, some of our great commercial centers with their restless populations, Lyon, Bordeaux, and the like, at the hour when evening falls. One can already envision the movement, the life, the extraordinary animation that financial interests alone are capable of giving to serious cities today. Suddenly, powerful jets of magnesium or electric light, magnified 100,000 times, burst from the summit of some flowering hill, a favorite spot for young couples, a hill similar, for example, to our dear Montmartre. These luminous beams, directed by immense multicolored reflectors, suddenly project into the depths of the sky, between Sirius and Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, or even into the very heart of the Hyades, the graceful image of a youth holding a scarf upon which we read every day with renewed pleasure these beautiful words: "We refund the gold for any purchase that has ceased to delight." Can one imagine the different expressions on the faces of the crowd, the illuminations, the cheers, the joy? After the first moment of quite pardonable surprise, old enemies embrace, the bitterest domestic resentments are forgotten. People sit under the grapevines to better enjoy this spectacle, both magnificent and instructive, and the name of Monsieur Grave, carried on the wings of the wind, flies toward immortality. It takes only a little reflection to grasp the results of this ingenious invention. Would the Great Bear herself not be astonished if, suddenly, between her sublime paws, there appeared this intriguing advertisement? Are corsets necessary? Yes or no? Or better yet, would it not be a sight capable of alarming weak minds and awakening the attention of the clergy to see appearing on the very disk of our satellite, on the beaming face of the moon, that marvelous sketch we have all admired on the boulevards, titled, "At the Hirsute One"? What a stroke of genius if, in one of the segments drawn between the Greek letter nu of the sculptor's workshop constellation, one could finally read, Venus, Calla Reduction. What excitement if, regarding those dessert liqueurs recommended for many reasons, one saw to the south of Regulus, the heart of the lion, on the very tip of the Virgin's ear of grain, an angel holding a bottle in his hand, while a small scroll emerged from his mouth with the words, God, but this is good. In short, it is easy to see that we are dealing here with an advertising enterprise without precedent, one of unlimited liability and infinite resources. The government could even guarantee its success for the first time in its history. It would be pointless to dwell further on the truly eminent services that such a discovery is destined to render to society and to progress. Can one imagine, for example, photography on glass and the method of the magic lantern applied in this way? That is to say, magnified 100,000 times, either for the capture of fleeing bankers or for the pursuit of famous criminals. The culprit, henceforth easy to track, as the song goes, would not be able to poke his nose out of his railway carriage window without seeing his own incriminating face in the clouds. And in politics, in the matter of elections, for example, what advantage, what supremacy, what an incredible simplification of the means of propaganda, which are always so costly. No more of those little blue, yellow, and tricolor slips of paper that ruin the walls and endlessly repeat the same name with the persistence of a nagging headache. No more of those expensive photographs, most often imperfect, which miss their mark, failing to inspire the sympathy of voters either by the pleasantness of the candidate's features or by their general air of majesty. For, after all, a man's personal worth is dangerous, harmful, and more than secondary in politics. The essential thing is that he looks worthy in the eyes of his constituents. Suppose, for instance, that during the last elections, the portraits of Messrs. B and A had appeared every evening, life-sized, right under the star beta of the Lyre constellation. That was their rightful place. It must be admitted, since these statesmen once rode Pegasus, if fame is to be believed. Both would have been exhibited there during the evening preceding the vote, both smiling slightly, their brows veiled with a suitable anxiety, yet bearing a confident look. The mechanism of the magic lantern could even, with the help of a small wheel, modify the expression of both faces at any moment. One could make them smile at the future, shed tears over our misfortunes, open their mouths, furrow their brows, or flare their nostrils in anger, taking on that worthy air, in short, everything that pertains to the podium and gives such weight to the thought of a true orator. Each voter would have made his choice and could have, at last, judged in advance, forming a clear idea of his deputy without, as they say, buying a pig in a poke. One might even add that, without the discovery of Monsieur Grave, Universal suffrage is something of a mockery. Let us expect, therefore, that on one of these dawns, or rather, on one of these evenings, Monsieur Grave, supported by the cooperation of an enlightened government, will begin his important experiments. The skeptics will have their day until then. Just as in the time when Monsieur de Lesseps spoke of joining the oceans, which he did despite the unbelievers, science will once again have the last word, and Monsieur excessively grave will let them laugh. Thanks to him, the sky will finally be good for something and will at last acquire an intrinsic value.